10 Creepy Stories from Chernobyl. Number 10. Aliens saved us from an even worse fate. There's an alien conspiracy that revolves around Chernobyl. Not that aliens caused the disasters, but that they saved the human race from utter annihilation. Around the same time as the Chernobyl explosion. One witness reported seeing an object for about 6 hours. Those who believe that this object was both real and piloted by aliens suggest that the aliens helped tone down radiation levels, preventing an even larger blast. Though the damage was certainly terrible, it wasn't as apocalyptically bad as believers say it could have been. A doctor claimed to have seen a similar UFO 3 years later at a time when a reactor was sending off high radiation levels. Similar conspiracies surround the Fukushima disaster. One common story is that the blast mutated humans into flesh-eating zombies that will devour any disaster tourists or researchers that cross their paths. Said zombies ripping a man apart limb from limb. In reality, this video was from a 2007 Ukrainian video game called Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl. In the game, the zombies are mutants that are created after a second disaster, 20 years after the first, during repopulation efforts. Someone later posted the video on YouTube trying to pass it off as real. It's not. Horror flick called Chernobyl Diaries, in which a group of young disaster tourists decide to check out Pripyat, only to spoiler get attacked by zombies. Number 8. Chernobyl's ruin porn is fake. Photos is not real, but rather a facade meant to make money off of people who love ruin porn. Visited Pripyat and said that the city was desolate in many ways and still dangerous. However, he says, a lot of the chilling photos we see online have been manufactured by photographers looking to create the perfect horror. I observed countless instances of tourists moving these artifacts around, or repositioning furniture for a better shot. I watched a photographer arrange stuffed bears and little dolls so that they sat in line along the edge of a bare, metal-framed bed, he wrote. He also alleges that the site purposefully profits off of disaster tourists. Can you blame them? Number 7. 7 survivors seek immortality. Here's a weird one. A Russian scientist who managed to survive the disaster moved to a very small Greek island called Gavdos with 6 other Russian scientists. They easily made a home there, but some conspiracies suggest that the scientists actually went to the island in an attempt to seize control of the Earth or to become immortal. 50 permanent residents, though it's a popular spot for tourists in the summer. In mythology, the island has been thought of as the real Ogygia, Calypso's mythical island home where the sorceress kept Odysseus captive for 7 years. Vice spoke to a filmmaker making a documentary about the group, who said that the scientists work on various inventions from inside a compound. They have 7 acres of land given to them by a priest, and they are kind to other residents of the island, often working on various projects free of charge. Some think the Russian scientists are spies, others think they've survived due to the island's healing properties, but the scientists themselves seem consumed with the idea of immortality and with Greek philosophy. They're even building a temple they call the Temple of Apollo. Number 6. Chernobyl was a cover-up. The documentary The Russian Woodpecker explores a conspiracy theory as explained by Ukrainian artist Fyodor Alexandrovich. The theory indicates that the meltdown was actually orchestrated in order to cover up the failure of the Russian woodpecker. The Russian woodpecker was a radar array meant to detect missiles before they'd even been launched, and was so named for the loud tapping sound similar to a woodpecker pecking on wood the device made. But it cost $7 billion and it didn't work. The woodpecker, formerly called Dug-A-3, was located very near Chernobyl. Alexandrovich's evidence, the Dug-A-3 probably didn't work because of the aurora borealis messing with signals, with the Soviets may not have accounted for, and it would have been very bad for Soviet leaders to admit they screwed up. Furthermore, Chernobyl's instability was already well known, as they'd had issues with the reactors before, so a meltdown would make a convincing story. How likely is this to be true? Well, it's a complicated plan that would have had to be perfectly executed to succeed, and that seems pretty unlikely. But some weird stuff did supposedly happen while the crew was making the documentary, including visits from the secret police and the sniper shooting of one of the crew members during the Euromaidan protests. Number 5. The Blackbird of Chernobyl. According to legend, several people began to see a large, winged creature with red eyes in early April before the Chernobyl disaster. The creature became known as the Blackbird of Chernobyl, and many have drawn parallels between this creature and America's Mothman. Both creatures were supposedly seen right before disasters. The Mothman was spotted right before the Silver Bridge collapsed in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, a tragedy that cost 46 people their lives. They're also similar in appearance, large, black, winged figures with glowing scarlet eyes. Survivors of the Chernobyl disaster reported seeing the creature flying away from the reactor. Reports of the bird stopped immediately after the disaster. Those who believe that the bird was a paranormal entity regard it as a harbinger of terrible things to come, while others believe it was merely a black stork. Number 4. The Ghosts of Chernobyl. As with any site where a number of people have lost their lives, Pripyat is rife with ghost stories. Andrei Korsakov, a nuclear physicist from New York, told one such story after visiting the area in 1997. Korsakov said he went to the power station at 7:30 a.m. and went to the reactor 4 sarcophagus, which is where the explosion occurred. He could not go inside due to radiation, but as he took radiation readings, he heard someone screaming for rescue from a fire inside. I ran upstairs to tell someone, but they said that when I entered the reactor control room, I was the first person to open that door in 3 years, and the only way to get inside the old reactor is through the doors I came in through. If someone had gone inside the reactor when I was not looking, they would have tripped an alarm that goes off when the reactor door is opened mechanically. The reactor door requires a password and a handprint, yet someone, or something, was inside. Later that evening, as we were eating dinner outside the building by the river next to the plant, a floodlight turned on in the room of the installation. There was no way anyone could be inside. As we ate, we figured there was a power surge or something. Then just as my colleague said that, the light turned off. Number 3. Chernobyl's mutant animals. Many reports of deformed and strange beasts near Chernobyl can be found all over the internet, indicating that radiation had severe effects on the animal population. To be sure, some severe mutations were seen right after the accident. The piglet in the photo above suffered from dipigus and is on display at the Ukrainian National Chernobyl Museum. It was born near the site of the explosion. Contemporary animals, however, are typically okay, even though their internal radiation levels are higher than most. They do not suffer significant genetic mutations, though some species have issues. For instance, some birds have developed smaller brains and some rodents have decreased litters or do not live as long. In fact, animal populations seem to be doing better now than they were when humans were farming there before. Scientists continue to debate, however, what the long-term effects of exposure will be for the animals that live there. Number 2. The elephant's foot. Elephants are cute, so you'd think anything named after their feet would also be cute. You'd be wrong, however, as this particular euphemism refers to a flow of hot lava that will kill you after 300 seconds. That's a mere 5 minutes of exposure. And not quickly, either, but you will die within 2 days. According to Kyle Hill in an article for Nautilus, this black lava was discovered by emergency responders who entered a steam corridor underneath Reactor 4. The crew's radiation sensors warned them to stay away. What happened was this: the radioactive particles got so hot, they melted and turned into a flow of lava, which in turn melted through the bottom of the reactor vessel and all the way down until it cooled enough to form the big glop you see above. Photos of the elephant's foot were taken via a camera on wheels. It was determined that the blob consisted mostly of concrete and other materials that the fuel melted on the way down. Still, going near it was a bad idea, and we wouldn't advise going near it even today. Number 1. The Chernobyl Amusement Park. The amusement park had a Ferris wheel, bumper bars, a paratrooper attraction, and swing boats. High levels of radiation still exist in the mossy areas of the park. It's now a popular backdrop for ruin porn photographers. The park is also used as a setting in the game Call of Duty for Modern Warfare. It bears similarity to Six Flags New Orleans, an amusement park which has been eerily abandoned since Hurricane Katrina. It bears similarity to Six Flags New Orleans, an amusement park which has been eerily abandoned since Hurricane Katrina. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe.